How's it going, everybody? Corbin here from Zoco Marketing. In today's video, we are going over the beginner's guide to LinkedIn ads. This video is going to cover how to set up your LinkedIn Business Manager and how to actually run ads to people inside of LinkedIn. So this is going to be a really helpful one if you are getting started in LinkedIn advertising. Let's jump right in. The first thing that you're going to want to look to do is first, you do need to have a LinkedIn personal profile. So that's where I am right now. I am inside of my LinkedIn personal profile. And you'll notice when you log in and you have that created, you're going to have this little advertise column over here. So we're going to click on that. Now, once you hit that advertising tab, you'll be taken to something that looks like this. If this is your first time using LinkedIn ads, you probably won't have any accounts inside of here like I do. Of course, I run a lot of different LinkedIn ad campaigns, so there are a lot of accounts inside of here, but don't let that worry you. You'll see something in the top left-hand corner that says create. So we're going to go through and hit this little create button. These are the steps you're going to use if this is a brand new LinkedIn ads account. We're going to hit create here, create account. And what you're going to want to do is name your account. So we're actually going to call this Zoco Marketing. And we just want it to be the normal account. You want to make sure your currency is the currency that you want it to represent. And then here is where you can add a LinkedIn page. I do recommend doing this, even though it does say optional. If you don't have a page already, you can come through and follow the steps here to create a new page, or you can check out the video down below where I walk through how to create a LinkedIn page and best practices for having a really good standout LinkedIn page. But if you already have one created, which I'm assuming maybe you do if you're watching this video, you can go through and add the URL here. So there we're going to add our business page that I've created. We're going to hit save. Let this load up, and then it is going to take us to our now what I call LinkedIn Business Manager, very similar to Facebook Business Manager if you're familiar with the structure there. How it's essentially organized is you have your account up here in the left-hand corner, and then you have campaign groups, and then you have campaigns, and then ads inside of those. So if you're used to Facebook, this is kind of like your ads. Campaigns are like the ad sets. These are the ads, and then this is the campaign. Kind of a different weird naming convention, but that's how LinkedIn works. So now the next step is to create our first campaign group. You'll notice here that LinkedIn does automatically add this new campaign group, but we're just going to start off by creating a fresh new one so you can see the whole process. So we're going to hit create here and then create campaign group. We're going to call this test group. For the status, we want this to be active. You can schedule your start date. So say you wanted to start it maybe on a Monday instead of a Friday or whatever it may be, you can do that. You can set a end date as well if this is a campaign that has a specific end date, or you can set a start and end date with a budget. Typically, I just like to keep this run continuously from the start date, and then I set the budgets in the campaign level, which I'll show you here in just a second. So we're going to hit save. So there we have our new test group. So what we're going to do is click inside of this test group. And then from here, we can click in and click create campaign. And now this is going to be creating a campaign inside of that campaign group. Typically how I look at campaign groups is exactly what it sounds like. If you have a product, that's typically my campaign group. And then from there, I create different campaigns for maybe the different ad types or different targeting. So just a kind of a little tip there on organization. So as you can see up here, we can name our campaign. I'm going to actually name this after I go through and do all the targeting settings. Typically, I like to use the campaign name to describe what the targeting is inside of this campaign. So we're going to hit next here. All right, and here we are inside of the campaign settings. You'll notice that we have these different objectives. There is the awareness objective, consideration, and conversions. These are exactly what they sound like. Here at the awareness stage, you can run brand awareness plays where the main metrics is just getting your ads in front of as many people as possible. Then you have consideration where the goal is to get either website visits, engagements, people reacting to your posts, or video views. And then here at the bottom of the funnel or the conversion funnel, you have lead generation, which lead generation is where you actually send somebody to a LinkedIn lead gen form as opposed to send them to a website or a landing page. This can be a very effective strategy inside of LinkedIn. And then you have website conversions. This is if you are sending somebody to a landing page or a website and you want them to complete a specific conversion action. One note with conversion campaigns, you do need to have conversion tracking set up on your account before you can run a conversion campaign. If you want to learn how to set up conversion tracking, you can check out this video up above. I've gone through the complete settings on how to do website conversion tracking step by step. It's very easy to do. So follow that video if you're interested in running a website conversion campaign. And then finally, we have job applications. For the example of this one, because I haven't set up the website conversion tracking just yet, we're going to go with the website visits. Once you click that, you'll notice right away that I'm going to move myself over here. Facebook. You'll notice right away that LinkedIn gives you a forecast on how many people you can see, you can target. As you can see, that this is if you didn't do any targeting, this is how many people you have the opportunity to see your ad over a 30-day period and the amount that you can spend. So pay attention to this as you go through and edit your targeting, because this will change change in real time as you go through and do that. So if you have saved audiences, you can come through and add them here. Or LinkedIn has pre-populated audiences. For instance, there's a few, maybe if we wanted to scroll down and say, okay, we want to target members with only bachelor's degrees, you can hit this, hit okay, and then you'll notice that now our targeting is people associated with bachelor's degrees. Now, we don't want to do that because I want to go through and actually show you the full settings on how to target people. So we're going to go and we're actually going to remove all attributes here. We're going to remove all these attributes. But this is an option for you if you wanted a quick audience to go through. You say, okay, maybe some of these are fine, are in my niche, and I want to target them. You can search obviously inside of here for specific ones. But for the example of this, I want to show you how you can build your own audiences, which is what I typically recommend, because if you're using these pre-populated audiences, chances are other people are also bidding on these, and your clicks are just going to be even more expensive. So we're going to come here and we're going to target. Say we wanted to do United States, Canada. Put that inside of there. Those are the two that we want to target. So now we're going to exit out of that. We're going to close this attribute. So now we are targeting people in the United States and Canada. And say for whatever reason you wanted to exclude certain locations, you could do that right here. You could come through and exclude certain places. We're not going to for now. Next is so we're targeting the location. Now we want to narrow our target even further. So we're going to click narrow. And inside of here, this is where the real power of LinkedIn comes into play. And you've probably heard that LinkedIn advertising is more expensive than other channels such as Facebook. And that is definitely true. And the reason why that is true is because of the granularity of targeting that you can get. If you think about Facebook, people aren't as motivated to put in their job experience or their job title. And so sometimes the job targeting in there isn't as accurate and not as good. But for LinkedIn, people are on here because they're looking to build their careers or different things. So the title targeting or the company targeting is just absolutely phenomenal. So you do want to make sure, because the clicks are more expensive on LinkedIn, you do want to take advantage of targeting as granular as you can to the exact target niche that you're going for. And I'll kind of show you the process of what I do on how to do that. But let's explain these audiences just a little bit. So first thing is you have audiences, and then you have audience attributes. Audiences is a little bit more of an advanced feature. This is where you can do things like uploads or list uploads, lookalikes, retargeting, third-party options, and other targeting options. If you do want to learn more about how to use these strategies, don't forget to subscribe, because I will be creating more videos on these targeting options specifically. But for the purpose of this video, most people, you're probably going to want to come over to this audience attributes. And this is my favorite part of LinkedIn. So as you can see, there are a lot of different ways you can target people. You have company, demographic, education, job experience, and interest and traits. And even inside of these, there are more subcategories. So if we come in here to company, for instance, you can target by company category, followers of, growth rate, industry, names, revenue, company size. If we come over here to demographics, you have member age, member gender, education, degrees, fields of study, member school. So I know a lot of people that if you're marketing an MBA program, will come and they'll target people based on if they just recently received a bachelor's degree, because that means they might be looking to get a master's degree, things like that. Then you can also come over and target by education. We were just in education. Job experience. So this is a really good one that I like to use a lot, is target by seniority. If you're selling a software or a business, you're selling to another business, and you want to make sure that you're only showing ads to decision makers, you can target by manager, director, VP, owner, partner. That way you're not just hitting people that maybe don't have the power to make the decision to buy the software. So the options kind of go on and on. Another one that I use very often is the member groups. You can target member groups based on pretty much anything that you're looking to sell. For instance, if I wanted to hit people that are interested in digital marketing, you could come through and click this right here. And there's a ton of different groups that you can add. And once you add one, then LinkedIn will come in and say, okay, here's this one. And then as you add a couple more, it will start giving you the target audience size. So notice as we're adding more, it's adjusting, and it gives you a function, a breakdown of the people inside of here. So some are in business development, some are in marketing, and gives you a window of how much you expect to click, how much you can expect to spend, your impressions, click-through rate, and clicks, which I found is very helpful as you're forecasting and building out different audiences, just to see how much you're going to be spending essentially. So here we have our targeting for member groups, people that are interested in all these different things. Now, say that you had this and then you wanted to maybe either make the audience bigger. You could do so by coming over. So we have our member groups, and we also want to hit people that are work at, whatever company. Maybe they're in arts or they're in design, and we want to hit people that the company is in design. You'll notice that all of a sudden that number jumps because we're doing members that are in this group or in this industry. Now, I don't recommend using the or function in LinkedIn very often because it just makes your audience bigger. And like I said, it's going to get very expensive very quickly. So we're actually going to delete this, and we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to go member groups, people that are in these member groups, and have another function. So we're going to click on narrow here. And what this is going to allow us to do is hit people that are in these groups and are also, let's say that we want to hit people that have a bachelor's degree. So we go for bachelor's degree. We can say all these different ones, there's lots of different bachelor's degrees. We're going to say that. And then now our audience is starting to drop. So you can continue to do this and narrow your audience as far as you would like, essentially. And the next level of targeting that you could do is you can now also come through here and start excluding people. So say that you are a B2B software company and there is a company that you recently sold to and you don't want them to see your ads anymore. You can come over here and say, okay, we don't want this company seeing our ads. Or this is also really well, I do this a lot of times for my competitors. I make sure that to add my competitors to the exclusion list so that they're not seeing my ads and getting ideas on the things that are working well for us. So if you recently sold to a business or they're a competitor or things like that, you can exclude them. More advanced options is you can exclude people who already filled out forms on your website. So there's all different things that you can do. But let's say that we recently sold to Microsoft, so we want to exclude them inside of here. We're going to click yes. And there's that. It's not going to narrow this very much because the people that I'm targeting probably don't work at Microsoft at this time. Let's make myself slightly smaller. So that's a rundown of the audience targeting. Like I said, I do recommend just to come in here and essentially play around and learn all the different things that you can target and things that you can do. But we're going to move on for the purpose of this tutorial. Next, you'll notice there's this little box over here that says enable audience expansion. This is going to take data points that LinkedIn has and target other people that might be likely to take the action that you want them to. In my experience, when I'm first starting off, and especially if I have a really scrappy budget, I'm going to uncheck this because I just want to make sure that my budget is going exactly where I specify in my targeting. So you can leave this unchecked if you want to test it, but in most experience, I leave that unchecked. Now I'm going to move myself back over here to get out of the way. And here's where we have all the different ad formats for LinkedIn. We have the single image ads, which are ones that just show inside of the feed. They're the most common ones that probably people think of when they think of LinkedIn ads. Then we have carousel ads where people can scroll through multiple images inside of one of the ads. We have video ads where it's just using a video, of course. And then you have text ads, which show on the right-hand column when people are on desktop. These are really effective, typically a cheaper cost per click for these. And then you have spotlight ads, which dynamically put the user's profile picture next to a little logo of your company. We have messaging ads, which show up when somebody actually inside of your messenger box. You'll see a little thing that says InMail or sponsored InMail, something along those lines. And it allows users to reach out to people individually from a specific profile. Then we have conversation ads, which are very similar to message ads, but the difference is with message ads, you can actually go through and there are multiple options that people can take inside of there. So a slightly different, this is a newer ad format for LinkedIn and one that I'm currently seeing a lot of success with those conversation ads. And the last one is an event ad where you can do specifically for a webinar or situations like that. So all these, of course, have their different reasons for why you would use them. The most common ones that I typically use are the single image ads, the text ads, and the conversation and message ads. Those are the four that I use the most, not to say that you can't use any of the others. For this specific tutorial, we're going to keep it simple and keep this at single image ads. Then we're going to come down here to placement. We only want to show on LinkedIn, so we're going to exclude this as well. We don't want to show up in those. LinkedIn's going to give us this warning, but just ignore that. For our budget, you can set either a daily budget or a lifetime budget, or both daily and lifetime budget. Typically, if it's a campaign that's kind of evergreen or whatever it may be, I like to keep it at a daily budget. One note is that LinkedIn, I think you need to have a minimum budget of $10 a day is the minimum that they'll let you. So if I go here to 5, for instance, it'll say, yeah, you need at least a $10 budget. So just something to keep in mind when you are budgeting, that you do need to spend at least $10 a day for that. You can run this continuously. You can set a start and end date if you'd like, but we're going to run it continuously. For bidding and optimization, there's a couple different options inside of here. We have maximum delivery automated. This is a newer feature from LinkedIn where it's essentially their automated bidding strategy that you can use. You have a target cost where you can set the target cost that you want to have, and you'll notice that LinkedIn gives you a range here. People bid between 17 and 36 essentially sometimes, or you have a manual bidding where you have a little bit more control over your bids. And you'll notice that, as you can see, some of these clicks are very expensive. And it's saying that essentially one click will eat up my whole daily budget if it's only $10. One little trick I will tell you though here is I feel like often LinkedIn over exaggerates the amount that people are paying for these clicks. And what I mean by that is they'll automatically populate a range in between the $7.36. But what I actually like to do is I like to add maybe, let's say $5. And when you come in here, you'll notice that now you can start bidding for $5. So I do recommend starting low on a manual bidding strategy first, because a lot of times I find I get just as many clicks if I go well below this advertising suggestion. If you go too low, they will start saying, hey, you'll have to go a little bit higher. So yeah, so the minimum bid you can do is $4.75. So typically I'll go as low as I can until I get that little warning, and I'll go right at $4.76, so that when other advertisers are seeing this and they put it at $4.75, I'm 1 cent above them. So just a little key nugget there of something to really differentiate yourself, so you're not paying as much, because this way I'm paying almost a third of the cost if I was going with a recommended bid. If I come back to this campaign and I've noticed I'm not getting impressions, or the ad isn't serving, then I'll come back and increase this bid maybe by $2 or $3. But right from the beginning, I don't like to pay as high as LinkedIn says I need to. I like to see if I can get away with kind of a discount cost per click, if you will. So I do recommend going manual bidding strategy, but not to say that there isn't a place for these other two as well. But when I'm starting off, that's the way to start. Next is where you can add your conversion tracking. As I mentioned, for this purpose of this video, we're not going through conversion tracking. I do have another video that talks about that if you wanted to add conversion tracking to your LinkedIn campaigns. I do highly recommend setting up conversion tracking before you do run your first campaign, because if not, then you don't really know when people are taking the actions you want them to on your website. So be sure to check out that video and complete conversion tracking if you do want to actually set your first LinkedIn campaign ads live. So now I need to move myself again. My floating head is always getting in the way. Oh, but before we hit next, as I mentioned, I do like to come and name this after I've gone through and done my targeting. So for instance, for here, we are digital marketing groups. This is USA and Canada. And we are also targeting degrees, so bachelor's degrees. And and you can have the exclusions. Essentially, I like to be as descriptive as this with this as possible, so that when you're going through and making optimizations, you see exactly at the campaign level, okay, here's what's in this campaign, without having to click through and look through all the settings. So now that we have that named, now we can come back down here and hit next, which takes us to the next process. You'll see we already set up our campaign group. We're on step 2, where we just set up our campaign, which is the bulk of the work. And then now we're going to hit save here. Well, depending on who you ask, maybe the creative is a little bit more of the bulk of the work too. And from here, if you have existing content, you can browse that content and just essentially grab an old ad that was working well. But for this, I don't have any existing content, so we're going to create a brand new one. And welcome to the ad, the LinkedIn ad. For this, you can give this a name. So we're just going to call this Shopify checklist, because that is what we're going to be promoting for this. Introduction, we're going to add a quick introduction, add that. Ready to launch your Shopify store, double check with this handy checklist. And this is a real checklist that I have. If you wanted to come check it out, shameless plug, there's the checklist. But we're going to come back over here and we're going to add the destination URL, which is this guy. There we go. And then we now need to add an image. So I've created an image for this. We're going to grab this Shopify checklist, open that up. And the recommended image for a 1200 or for a LinkedIn single image is 1200 by 628. That is how you'll get the best essentially size on there. And then get your checklist. You can add a description. This is optional. And then the last thing to do is to select the call to action. So for here, we are going to have a download the guide, which then adds our little CTA button right there. Actually, is there a better one that I want to have? Attend. So you have all these different CTAs that you can go for. Yeah, I think we're going to go for download the checklist. So there it is, our LinkedIn ad that is now ready to go. So we're going to come back over We're going to add a period to that real quick. And then we have our destination. We have the introductory text. The description text will show just right below here if you wanted to add more inside of that. And then we have our CTA, which is awesome. So now we're going to hit create, saving our ad. And inside of here, this is where you could preview your ad even more if you wanted to. You could edit it. You could show in feed. You can manage tracking, all these different things. So let's say we wanted to preview it, and here's what our ad will look like in the actual feed. Kind of barren. I would actually, if I was going to really run this, I'd probably want to add a description. I don't really like how this looks down below. Just me being kind of nitpicky here, but just something to think about. So then we're going to hit next. And then from here, we can do our final launch campaign. Launch this campaign, and it's going to come up and probably ask me to no payment method needed. So your ads will not run until your payment is completed. So I need to go through and add my payment method. So we're going to go to it. So we're going to come over here to account overview. And then here in this area is where you can go to your billing center and access and add your first credit card payment method. And once that is done, then your campaigns will be able to go through and run. So I'm going to go through and add my payment method real quick. All right, so I went and added my payment info. So now we're going to agree and launch campaign. Let this load up. And there we have it. Our campaign is now active. I'm going to go through and pause this for the purpose of this video, but hopefully you found this helpful today. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to learn more in-depth strategies for LinkedIn. I'm going to be creating even more content for advanced strategies, as I mentioned. So don't forget to subscribe if this is something that interests you. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you found it valuable. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one.